Hello everyone, this is RaySpace and welcome back to Far Future Experimentation in Kerbal Space Program 1.12 with Real Solar System, where I'm trying to figure out how to get around the solar system as quickly as possible to sort of implement the sci-fi vision of how travel around the solar system is supposed to go. And I am using Nertea's Far Future mod and the engines therein in order to do this. Now, one of the stumbling blocks so far during my Twitch live streams where I've been trying this out and getting to planets within days or weeks, something like that, is that I have been unable to tweak scale the radiators properly. When I tried to tweak scale the radiators up, they didn't get any more capability. They didn't reject more heat. So that has been a problem, and that led to this ship. You can see the radiator-strewn monstrosity that we have here with basically parasol radiators. I know how radiators are supposed to go. You know, they're supposed to be radiation shadow from the engines, and then they tend to be a triangular thing. I haven't been doing that because that would be painful to do with these radiators, that's for sure. I don't think there's a triangular-shaped one or a big triangular-shaped one from Heat Controller System Heat. I might have to make one. There was a triangular one. This one is a triangular one from KSP Interstellar. I'll probably have to configure the KSP Interstellar radiators to be compatible with system heat and heat control, maybe thereby getting rid of their own sort of deal, but that's gotta be complicated. But yeah, it's sort of a wedge like this that tends to happen on a lot of the big ships with a lot of heat that needs to be dissipated, and also radiation to be avoided. But anyway, we've got these Z-pinch engines and they needed all this radiator, but not actually, because I've solved the problem. I have solved my tweak scale problem, and the problem was I was using KSP 1.12.3 instead of KSP 1.12.5. Now, there was a good reason for me to be using KSP 1.12.3, and that is because I wanted real exoplanets, which adds other star systems to real solar system, and that doesn't work with the 1.12.5 version of Copernicus, which is what you use to add other planets. So either I had real exoplanets or I had 1.12.5. I could not have both. And so this install does not have real exoplanets anymore, but it does have 1.12.5, and now the tweak scaling on the radiators works, and now I can get rid of the parasols, or whatever you want to call them. So we can cut down the radiators to a more manageable level. Right now we had a part count of 301. Fortunately, I set these up so that they could be removed easily. So now we have about the right amount of radiators. It's still a larger count than I want, so I'll rearrange these. I'll increase their size because they don't need to be 200% anymore. They can be larger, and then we'll have fewer parts and less lag. See it, just the parasols, getting rid of them, cut down the part count by half, and we will have a better ship. But for now, oh, and also we'll have a lot more delta V. With those radiators that we had before, we had 1 million meters per second less, or actually maybe 800,000 meters per second less. So having inefficient radiators is horrible. So yes, we are better off now, but let me talk a little bit more about this ship, the Z-pinch engine. So in the live stream, I was trying to get around the solar system in 80 days, and if we take a look at Transfer Window Planner, there are positives and negative. I just removed those tanks accidentally. Let's say we go to Earth, we go to Pluto from Earth directly right now. No ifs, ands, or buts, just a straight line trip. Okay. And we're looking for going fast. Well, this looks great, right? 50 days. We can do it with 2 million. We've got 4.5 million. And I'll have a refueling station over at Pluto, of course. You'd better. So let's say not 80. Let's say 40 days. Or 30 days. So going straight is quite possible. And during the live stream, because we didn't have this much, and actually didn't have this opportunity, it ended up being like 45 days. So whatever the solar system configuration is right now, it's much better than what we had during the live stream. And that's the thing. It's very sensitive to where exactly the planets are. So here we can get there in 26 days with plenty to spare, and then refuel there and then come back. We are refueling deuterium and helium-3, by the way. Pluto is not a great place for deuterium and helium-3. The best places in the solar system are Uranus and Neptune. That is where we would want to have the depots for that kind of propellant. And then for the rocky planets like Pluto, we can get uranium from that for the nuclear saltwater. But anyway, and that should be much more efficient now with the smaller radiators too. So we can get pretty quickly over to Pluto. But let's take a look at the situation around the solar system. Let me just save this as Z-Pinch ship 2. So that ship is very capable. You'll note that it gets much more delta V than the ships I've been using in the previous videos, and that's because it's got more ISP. It's got 365,000 seconds. The important thing here, and one thing I discovered during the live streams, is that it's all very sensitive to where the planets are. It is the year 2000 standard sort of situation where we've been having Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn all lined up. Pluto is over here, and so it seemed like we could do that in 26 days. But if you tried to go from Uranus to Pluto, take a look at what happens. So here, Uranus, it doesn't look like Uranus to Pluto should be any shorter than Earth to Pluto, right? Earth to Pluto is about the same distance, real distance. But we're getting a lot more delta V requirement to go from Uranus to Pluto than from Earth to Pluto. And as far as I can tell, that's because we're going retrograde around the sun. So if we go from Pluto to Uranus, same distance, they're not going to move very much in the time frame. I will expect that that is going to be a lot easier. Yeah, so in 30 days we could do this way around much faster than we can go that way around. So even though, you know, the orbital velocities of these things is not very fast, right? Uranus, it's only going 6,557, so it's not a whole lot of actual momentum we're talking about around the sun. But I actually don't understand why the heck it is so bad to go retrograde around the sun versus prograde around the sun, given the speeds that we're going at, which is like 1.65 million meters per second. But it is the case right now in Kerbal Space Program, I have no idea in real life, that if you go retrograde around the sun, it's really, really bad. It's really, really bad. And it doesn't seem to be the existing momentum of the planets that make that bad. So I don't know. I mean, because, you know, we have to match speeds with Pluto, great, but the differential is just going to be 1.6 million plus 6,000, right? I mean, it shouldn't be a problem to add the extra 6,000 in there. So why is it so much worse? And we'll verify this again, going Uranus to Pluto. Same time, 30 days. 5.7. I mean, it's 2 million meters per second more. And I'm just not able to wrap my head around why. I don't know what's going on with that, but it is the case that all our transfers are very sensitive to where exactly the planets are, and especially whether any planets are retrograde of another. So we have to go around, if we want to be efficient, we have to go around in the order where everything is going to stay prograde. So we would go here, let's say from Earth to Pluto to Neptune to Uranus to Jupiter to Saturn, and then back, if we were just covering the outer planets, because of this thing where it's better to just be going prograde. But I still don't understand exactly why, because in theory, as far as I can tell, I mean, I guess there's an interstellar medium thing, but are we really fighting against the interstellar medium that much? Is that what's going on? Does Kerbal actually calculate that? It's a befuddlement to me. I don't know. So if you guys have any idea why there should be that much difference when the planetary velocities are just on the order of 6,000 meters per second, let me know what's going on there, because that's a big difference. But at least I fixed the radiator problem. And so the Z-Pin ship has these very efficient engines that can get a lot more delta V, and now that I've reduced the radiator size, we are going to see how fast we can. You can see it's a 28-day burn time. So we're going to take it out and we're going to make that 26-day trip to Pluto and see if that really, really works. we're going to spend basically 14 days burning towards it and then 14 days slowing down. But let me just see how efficient one of the other ships would be once we get rid of all the extra radiators. The Niven NSWR ship that I used in the previous video. And so what we were getting with that was, well, I think we were getting less than 1.6. 1.6 million meters per second. And right now we have 5 times the radiator capacity than what we need. So, it's rescaled the tank. Oh, the tanks were scaling badly too. Well, whatever got changed, it certainly wasn't the problem that I had. Oops. Where when you copy it, it resets the scale. So that's still the thing. Okay, well, there seems to be tweak scale on this engine, but its max thrust stats up here don't seem to fall along with it, but the burn time does. So when it says max thrust here, that doesn't seem, and the mass doesn't seem to agree with what's happening in MechJeb. The system flux works, it's just this chemical engine stuff does not. Well, that's already more radiator than we need. That's good. Okay, so we need about that much. That's a big difference, isn't it? 10-day burn time. Probably add one more tank. But they're getting diminishing returns like that. In fact, was that really that much better? Not really. Probably we should just stick to this. So yeah, a much trimmer Niven nuclear saltwater ship finally, thankfully. Sort of like a dragonfly kind of thing. Almost. Anyway. Let's go back to the Z-Pinch one and see about that trip to Pluto. Okay, for the time being, as usual, I've cheated it into orbit, and we are here. These do have a charging thing. I'm just going to make sure the charge rate is not too painful, as fast as possible, in other words. It's a small KSP interstellar reactor on the center, by the way. Really, it's probably just point at Pluto and burn. Considering Pluto doesn't move very fast at all. And so, yeah, I would expect that it's just point at Pluto and burn. But we don't want to point through Earth. So I'm just going to make sure that we're going over here. And then we're going to use 2 million meters per second. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Should be 2 million. I'm going to make sure we're pointed in the right direction vaguely, but what we really want to do is point at it, so we're gonna need inclination stuff, but the easiest way is just to say point at target. So maybe I'll just point at target, but we'll do that when we get over here. And if I try a time warp right now, it gives this message. So the way that Pekka's mod works is if you set these to be using all engines. I don't know what happens if you only put that on one, but anyway, using all engines, and then we can shut them down. I really should action group them. And time warping. Alright, so we're working in time warp, but there is a roll, and the roll deviates us from the way we want to point. Well, I really want to point at the target, so that's not acceptable. Okay, hopefully it doesn't have a roll right now. Okay, it seems good enough. Off we go. Okay, and we are out of Earth SOI. We don't really need the node per se. That's just as a reference. We are ready Partway to Jupiter. I think it'd be good for me to just plot it now, just to be safe. So we're already 11 days in. So it's taking a little bit longer than expected, but it usually does. Now, I can't really get a closest approach at all for Pluto. I think the best thing to do is just to keep pointing at it. Trying to use that as a reference is apparently hopeless, so on we go. Just go faster towards it. It's the only hope I've got. Right around the orbit of Saturn, we will have reached 2 million. But it's taken 17 days to do that. Now it shows me an orbit line pointing backwards, which is also not helpful. But we do need to slow down. But let's turn. Throttle is up. Alright. Anti-target. Stage time right now reading 11 days. We have 2.5 million meters per second. Which is more than, I mean, overall we've packed more than the engine ought to have. It should be about 3.65 million. So, overdoing it a bit, but that's because the radiator situation was positive. The original had about the right amount. Once I took off the surplus radiators because the tweak scale issue was fixed, we got the extra. We could probably put 3 engines now, since we don't need that much radiator. Once I make the radiators physically larger, it should be easy. It might do well with it because it sure doesn't turn very well with just 2. We need RCS. I do have reaction wheels, but they're realism overhaul reaction wheels, so they are nerfed. Okay, engines off, time warp. We are slowing down. We're 17 days in. We have no line. And maybe it's too early. But I wouldn't know, because I have no idea when we're going to encounter it. Yeah, it was too early. Let me just stop that. Is it ever gonna give me a line pointed in the right direction? Oh, I can plot on this side. Okay, well let's try that. But these are the problems with trying to do a mission like this. Kerbal was not meant for it, that's for sure. I mean, I can't see what's happening with my orbit. We're already 38 days in instead of 26. Wrong thing. We've got 7 days, but I have no idea how long the trip from right here to right there is going to take exactly. Maybe... well, I can't click there. Oh, maybe if I click here. 8 days. So maybe we can wait a little bit longer. Well, I'm gonna try and rendezvous with it. The usual push your retrograde marker towards the target kind of thing. Probably not what you're supposed to do, but I can't plot anything. Sort of going that a ways. Not as much as I need to, probably. Okay, well now we have a line here. Maybe I should make use of that. Looks like I can plot now. 45 days though. And we've got 4 days and 1.12 million meters per second right now. In fact, as we do retrograde, we naturally tend towards this side because we're slowing down with respect to the sun. So this sort of just happens anyway. So initially leaning towards the rear of the planet's orbit is usually a good idea. Timing is still iffy, because again, it's plotted as instantaneous, and we're definitely not doing it like that. So basically what I need to do is figure out how to do all of these burns without plotting at all. In other words, I just need to have a sense of where to point with respect to the target, because it's close to pointing at the target, but not quite. And depending on the speed that we're approaching it at, it'll determine how far away from the target we need to point, and then when to slow down. Because plotting it is useless the way it is right now. We're just going too fast for the whole, and taking too long in terms of the burns for the whole instantaneous burn thing to work out. So, and there's no easy solution, you know. The KSP2 tried to implement smoother burn, non-instantaneous burn, but we obviously didn't get KSP2, so yeah. We'll just have to work with this for now. We'll see about plotting things in any other space simulator that might arrive, but for now, here we are. Turning. All the rest of the solar system's over there. Well, except maybe Uranus and Neptune. Okay. This slowing. Oh no, it's got rotation. Shoot. And it's a pretty bad one. Okay, well, that's as good as we're gonna get there. So now we have the Pluto encounter. It's actually a fair amount of time there from the SOI boundary to periapsis, 7 hours, so we can probably just go for the capture. So I'm pretty confident that actually the Z-Pinch fusion engine would be able to do around the solar system in 80 days, providing a good plan and much better execution than I've got here. We took double the amount of time that we were supposed to, but then again, Transfer Window Planner is also betting on instantaneous burns. So it's assuming that you get the 2 million instantaneously and then slow down instantaneously. So it's not really doing it right either. So maybe there's no way to expedite it any better because we need the time to accelerate. But this level is good. So for around the solar system in 80 days, we're looking at a specific impulse. 300,000 to 500,000 would be perhaps sufficient. Oh, it's really choppy right now. Okay, what's happened? I hope it's not like Pluto's always going to be like this. That was a problem with the other star systems. It was really choppy there during time warp. Maybe Pluto's far out enough that that's going to be a problem here too. Yeah, we do have a time warp problem out here though. So probably Neptune is not great either. That really killed the whole idea of going to the other star systems. It's much worse at the other star systems as far as the time warping is concerned. I don't know if there's some way of fixing this, but yeah, the farther away you get from the sun, even though it's not supposed to be like that really, the more like this it becomes. Only during time warp though. Oh, we can actually see Pluto. That's great. That's a rare thing. Maybe it's not so bad around here after all. Or when we get closer to it, it'll be impossible to see it. We'll see. But it's there now. Okay, still looking good. At this time warp, we can actually go continuously almost. Alright. Well, 55 days. Not what I wanted. Refinement will be necessary. There were parts where we were not using any thrust, so... But again, we definitely used most of our delta V, but that's because we went slower. I mean, it's complicated. At least we got here. And 55 days is a lot shorter than a normal transfer. If we talk about a normal Hohmann transfer, by the way, from Earth to Pluto, 22 years, 160 days is the best opportunity within the next 2 years. Doesn't take much delta V, 13,000 total, ejection 9,000, insertion 4,000. But 22 years versus 55 days is a big difference. I think we will all agree. We don't want to crash into the surface. We've captured. We are in a safe orbit, but barely on the periapsis side. And as far as remaining delta V is concerned, again, we would want to refuel here, but we have 220,000, so no problems rendezvousing with anything like that. But yeah, not the 26 days I was looking for. Let's see if we can still get it's really choppy here. Yep. Okay. Ooh, that was quick. Alright, well, we can still see Pluto's surface, but as I zoom in, it tends to be a bit fuzzy. So there it is. The thumbnail. Well, yes, but anyway, we continue to work on far future technologies. And with that, I'll say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time.